Welcome to the Daily B Show, episode 116 with Nathan Taylor. Super excited and very humbled to have Nathan here with us today. We're going to be speaking on a number of things. The topic of today is eradicating suicide together, and who knows where it's going to lead us. But Nathan's been marching the path, basically putting himself out there and sharing his story and his journey with suicide, and also he's created Zach's community, which I'll let him speak more about. But essentially, it's advocating and raising awareness for the eradication of suicide, and just to get the word out there, get people speaking about it a little bit more and opening up the conversation. And it's exactly what we're doing here right here today, is opening up the conversation. We're going to deep dive into wherever we go, no bars held, and just let it all out there, because there's a lot of people that are suffering in silence, that feel alone, and that just need to hear that they're not alone, that there's other people that have gone through similar and they've come out the other side. So Nathan, brother, thank you so much for hanging out, for joining us, and to be here to share your story, as you've been doing a lot lately.
Mate, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity, because it's exactly that. It's all about having conversations, about being real, being authentic, and letting other people know that, hey, we all go through stuff, but life does get better. And, mate, just to want to acknowledge you for the incredible work that you're doing and reaching a lot of people and making a positive impact in their lives. So keep up the great work. And I'm also so privileged and humbled to be doing not only this video together, conversation with you right now, but know that we're all in alignment with what we're doing in our past with making that impact. So thank you.
Absolute pleasure. And mate, do you mind sharing with everyone what you've been up to sort of the last few months? It's been a bit of a whirlwind, and what's going on and what you're doing.
Yeah, so I guess for me, like, we'll sort of dig deeper into it a little bit further on, but essentially, through my own life experiences, through the loss of some loved ones to suicide, I'd sort of reached a point where I had that sort of tap from the universe, but it wasn't a tap; it was more like a baseball bat across the face, sort of tap from the universe that said, "Nathan, you need to open up, and you're here for a reason, and that reason is for suicide prevention." So I just started Zach's community up early last year, and just going blindly about it, not really knowing what I was doing, just had good intentions, start up a Facebook page, do very little on Instagram, and thought I need to do that as well. Like I said, not really knowing what I'm actually doing, but the intention behind it was to raise awareness for suicide prevention, keep Zach in memory of Zach, of course, and also sort of just show that I'm a living, breathing example of life gets better. Yeah. Fast forward to this year, and I've really done some really good work on myself. I've invested in myself, and I've uncovered a lot of limiting beliefs. I've learned a lot, uncovered those blocks, those things down in our subconscious that make who we are, that hold us back in life. And ever since I've done that, everything is just opening up more and more and more. I've met this, you're an incredible legend as part of it, and which I'm so grateful for. And just met so many other amazing like-minded people that share my passion for suicide prevention, and share my passion for making helping people be the best that they can be. It's all on this. We're on this journey together. We all have our challenges. We all have our ups and downs. But what's important is that we stay connected, and we have that support system around one another for those times where we do drop down. So it has been an incredible 6 months, but especially like the last 3-4 months, it's just like it's been supercharged, and being able to meet, like I said, a lot of people. I had a lot of opportunities to share my story and make that positive impact.
Yeah, it's huge, man. And it's one thing, what was just coming up for me as well, is that suicide prevention is sort of getting people out of a depressed and pretty down and dark sort of place. But it's not through lack of work and through lack of effort. And you've done a lot of work on yourself. Like you said, you've done a lot of personal development work. You've really been willing to step into that and to face your fears and your insecurities and all your limiting beliefs and your past experiences, which takes a lot of courage and a lot of effort in the moment as well, to be able to do that. But man, can you share a little bit about the backstory and what got you into this, and why suicide and why for you?
Yeah, no worries. So I grew up like so many other people in the country and around the world do. Young mother, she was 18. Dad was 20. Bad marriage, didn't work out. Didn't last long at all. Basically raised by my grandparents. My father went off and lived his life. Didn't have much to do with me at all growing up. I might have been lucky to see him once or twice a year as a kid. My mother went off and trying to build her life, career, buy a house, do all that. She worked 3 jobs to put herself through university to better herself, and all these things. But what that did to me was, I was, like I said, grew up a lot with my grandparents, a lot of that loneliness. Typical kid, we all just want our love from our parents. I don't think anybody else, any other child in the world, doesn't want that. And so a lot of that stuff that, I know now is related in those subconscious behaviours that made me think that I wasn't valuable, wasn't good enough, to my parents. So I thought to put that on silent. Put that, that time with just, when I'm growing and I'm learning. So fortunately for myself, I had my grandparents who did love me unconditionally, absolutely amazing. Grandfather, truck driver, working big hours and all that sort of stuff. So it's not like I didn't definitely say I had a bad childhood. I had lots of love from my grandparents and love from my mum in her way. We have a funny relationship, but it's a great relationship. We love each other, quite a lot. She's a great grandmother to my children. But it was just, for me, I just always remember being lonely, always remember feeling alone. Didn't have a lot of kids. My grandma didn't drive, so didn't sort of have to catch up. So I found through sport where I made my friends. And that was something I did through, obviously, school, like most kids. I did well at school. I was blessed with that. But sport was where I grew my relationships. And what happened throughout my life is my friends become my family, which is, and still to this day, I consider like my close mates as family. So fast forward, I guess those teenage years and stuff starts to come up, and there's a bit of like that anger and that sort of things, and there's things of I'm not worthy, I'm not valuable. I didn't even know that all this stuff existed, but obviously you can look back in reflection now, yes. And where you self-sabotage and you do these silly things that you wouldn't normally do if you had the confidence and had the belief in that you matter and that you're good enough and all those sorts of things. So fast forward, I had a couple of great relationships with some girls, and as a teenager, early 20s, and I self-sabotaged those and moved on until I met this other girl. And look, she was incredible. We had an amazing, incredible relationship, but it was love-hate. It was the same relationship as what I had with my mother. So my mother and I grew up more like brother and sister rather than mother and son. And I talk, you hear about girls grow up to marry their dads. You've got to be a good dad, be a good role model to your daughters, which I've got 2 beautiful girls and a son. And but I married my mother. That's not my father, definitely not. I married my mother. I nearly said that because I was talking about father, but I married my mother, and not in the context that she was the same as sort of personality and that sort of thing. Yeah. But what I married was somebody who's always going to abandon me, And look, I mean, there's a couple of different experiences that I had with my mother that really really hurt, and also stuff with my father, and but. And I guess both of them. I guess, when I was younger with my father, I remember finding out that he was remarried, and I rang him up and said, "Why didn't you tell me?" And just didn't even want to even let me know, and went off and went married, had another family, and one time it's sort of said, "Hey, what's going on?" and he said basically like just reaching out, trying to have my dad, and said, "Nah, like I've got my own family now. You're not a part of it." Wow. And and there's so that abandonment like there, and then I got like the abandonment from my mum where I was about 16 years old and sort of working in the yard and, just having a few beers and with the boyfriend and one of my mates and one of his mates and with, talking afterwards at the end of it and just having those beers and said something and we ended up getting into a stupid argument, don't talk about politics and religion, right? got into an argument, and then he sort of took off outside. The next thing you know, comes flying in and just stuck into me, and we're like just, you know, punching on, and I'm like 60 kilos wringing wet. He's like 100 and something ex-Vietnam vet, you know, and just sort of, and I just remember just, you know, him holding me against the wall and just choking me and just hit him with everything I had and ran out. Now I went I was frightened obviously for my life. I was a kid, you know, and I waited until I saw him leave, and then I went back inside. I said, "See, Mum, you know, it's not me. It's him. I told you." I said, "You need to choose." And she said, I choose him, you know, and that just broke my heart. And that's something that's just stuck with me, you know, it always has. And I ended up, you know, that's when I started living. I went and moved out of mate's garage, lived in their parents' garage. And then, you know, and then I sort of just always just in and out, like with Mum, with my grandparents, with my mum, off with mates, with Mum, somewhere else. Like just, it was just always, and this like, she always made sure I got a good education, fed, clothes, sport, you know, everything else. But it's just, you know, it's just her thing.
Wasn't there?
And it's just because she's gone through her journey, you know, and we all go through our own journey. And I'm not here to judge anybody, but that sense of belonging, that being part of a family. And because I grew up, that's what I wanted. I wanted to see my cousins that I grew up with, and I'd see them with their families, and see my mates with all their families. And I wanted that family as well. So fast forward, I said to meeting this girl. Absolutely, like I said, incredible. We had this love-hate relationship, and you know, we were going through stuff in our 20s, you know, hanging around with the wrong people, I guess. As in not like bad people, but the party scene and doing all that. So, you know, there's drugs involved, and there's got, you know, could get sort of volatile and everything else. Well, you know, silly us, we decided to get married. We thought, well, this is it, rah, rah. And you know what? We were mid-20s. We just wasn't right. We just weren't doing things. But after we did get married, because I think we should have both realised we probably shouldn't have gone through it, but we were into it, we were doing it, and we did it anyway. So,
game of chicken almost.
But I wanted that family. I wanted that family I never had. And something told me that she's the one. We got married in the church. We did all this. And then it was like, I wanted to say, no more partying, work hard, career, do all these things. Let's settle down. Well, she didn't want to settle down. So she rebelled against it. And long story short, again, I'm not to judge, but it culminated in her sleeping with friends, so-called friends of mine, and all this sort of stuff, right? Well, you know, we've sort of broken up. And I went to a deep hole of depression. I was just absolutely devastated. I thought, you know, again, I was abandoned. I wasn't loved. I'm not good enough. You know, I just run around with all these other people. What's wrong with me? And all this stuff, all these triggers, and just anxiety, depression. I didn't want to get out of my room. Like, I lost my job. I was just, everything was going wrong. So then I got myself slowly, and we'll talk about this a bit later, but through exercise. I was right in the gym. I was always, as I mentioned, I love sport, and I just really pushed myself and just started with a small little spark in my stomach, you know, a little fire in my belly, and I just built it. Got myself back going again, feeling good. Well, then, of course, you know, she saw me looking good. Oh, Nathan's back to her old self, and you know what? She sucked me back in. And I allowed her to do it, and then we went on that wild ride again. But culminated in, with the other stuff, I didn't actually know she was doing what she was doing. I just had my suspicions, but I'd never caught her. I probably just didn't want to believe it because you know, I loved her and just thought, oh, it'll work out. It's going to get her back. But anyway, so I let her, you know, come back in, and I'm, you know, I'm part of the situation here. I'm in, and I'm invested and making it happen. And then fast forward, of course, you know, things come out. Obviously, caught things going on, and messages and so on, and all this sort of stuff. And I didn't want to my mates didn't allow me to go back down that deep hole again. So I was trying really hard, and, you know, just went out and just drinking one night. And so I'd taken pills one night. I'd practiced tying nooses. I had lots of suicidal thoughts. And I remember even as a child having suicidal thoughts. But this particular night, we went out to the pub and we come home. back to back living with my mother and a stepfather when your life goes to shit, you know. And so then I basically, I remember coming home, and I was smoking a bit of pot, at that time, and I smoked a bit, and I'd had trouble sleeping, and when I got depressed, I couldn't sleep because anxiety, my brain wouldn't slow down, and I wasn't eating properly, and I took some Valiums as well because I wanted, and I just wouldn't take one Valium because of the mental state that I was in, so I took a I don't know, it wouldn't have been like 10 or anything like that, but took a few, and to try and just like knock myself out. I just went into this deep sleep because I knew I didn't have any more pot smoke, get through the morning, and wanted to think, right? Because it'd been a particularly bad night where we're out. And then I woke up only like, I don't know, might have been an hour later, and I woke up just so angry. And I remember trying to reach out, trying to contact her, and I couldn't. And then that rage just grew and grew and grew. And I was like, fuck this. I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this again. I'm over. I'm not going to put myself through this shit. And I made a decision right then and there that's it. I'm going to take my life. And I'm not mucking around. I'm not doing it. And for all of you out there, I can tell you now, you're not a coward when you take your life. It is the most frightened, it's the most scared I've ever been in my life. I was absolutely shitting myself. For me to know that I was never going to see my family again, never going to see my loved ones again, never going to talk to anybody, I would literally be in a hole in the ground. That was it. My life was going to come to an end. I've never, ever, ever in my life been so frightened. But at the same time, it's the bravest I've ever been because I was literally looking at death in the face, saying that to death, fuck you, that's it, I've had enough, I'm coming at you, you know? And it was like I said, I can't describe how scared I was, but how brave I was at the same time.
Yeah.
It's lucky for me, I must have been making a bit of noise, psyching myself up, because I don't know how the next part really rolled out. But so I went outside, pushed the lounge up, tied up the rope, put it around my neck, and I remember having tears rolling down my face, and I just went right, and I jumped. So my stepfather, and God bless him, because my stepfather just happened to have his fishing knife that he sharpened that day, and he left it out on the kitchen bench, and he saw me hanging there, and he cut me down. And all I remember was waking up in his arms crying. Yeah. And I was crying. And you know what? Like, it was just all good goosebumps all over me just thinking about it again. But like I said, words can't explain. And, just to have that mindset that your life is going to end is just something that I don't want anybody to have to go through. I don't want anybody to go through that. I don't want any family member to lose a loved one, because if literally I know I'm meant to be here, because it's only a matter of seconds. If he hadn't have found me, that I wouldn't be here. So obviously it's a pretty traumatic sort of time after that. It was just me and him. My mother was away, and some close family, my close friends, come around early that morning. And, what are you doing, you bloody idiot? And, all that, what were you thinking? Just, like all that sort of thing going around. And so just had that time with them. And then, mate, the next day, I just got on with life like it never happened. If I had the rope burns around my neck, and if it wasn't for that, no one would ever have known. So, it's just that time in that situation right then, right there, that I was in so much pain that I didn't want to go on. I was in so much pain that I couldn't see a light at the end of the tunnel in that moment. And that's the thing, is you just have to be able to get through that moment, because the light's always there. Sometimes every day the sun goes down, and the moon comes up, and there's darkness every night, but every single day the sun comes up again, and there's light back in your life. Yeah, and that's beautiful. People to understand that it's so powerful, and that's why I really think about that. In that moment right there, it was like there's only darkness around me, and I just thought the sun was never going to rise again. But I'm so grateful that I know now that the sun always rises, no matter how dark the times get. The sun guaranteed to come again.
Absolutely.
So I fast forward. That was back in 2004.
But can I ask with that as well, on that experience of being face to face with death and really like making the decision to let go and to take that jump? Can I ask what maybe you felt like what you gained from that experience and from being so close to death and so willing to let go of life, if anything, what that built within you or strengthened within you or
Well, that's the thing. Right then and there, it did, and for a long period afterwards, I buried it all. I had guilt and shame.
mm-hmm.
I really did. I just felt guilt and shame, and because you don't talk about suicide, you don't talk about struggling, you don't talk about mental health because just have some concrete and hard enough and tough enough and all this sort of stuff, which is just all rubbish. It's all rubbish. And that was the thing. I literally just got about my life again on Monday, and no one would ever have known.
Yeah.
Only my close family and friends that actually knew.
Mm.
And then I got back into my career, met my beautiful wife, who I've been together now for 14 years. We have 3 beautiful children. And I didn't understand this whole mental health thing. I knew I got anxiety. For many, many years, I continued to get anxiety, continued to get depression, but I'd hide that depression and I'd keep that to myself.
How'd you hide it?
Just hide it, just put on a smile, put on a brave face, or fake it till you make it.
Do you feel like that you really did a good job of that? Or do you think that people weren't aware enough or connected enough to you? And I ask that because like I'm pretty intuitive and I guess I like to think that I'm pretty good at reading body language and energies of people. And there's no fucking way that would get past me if there was someone at that level. So was it, like, do you really feel like you hit it really well, or do you feel like people weren't, or maybe they weren't brave enough to bring it up or to even ask the question, or like, how do you think it got?
I think it's a bit of everything, to be honest. There's some people that probably didn't know, maybe sent something, didn't know how to ask. Yeah. There's some people maybe didn't want to know because they're dealing with their own shit. It's too confronting for them, perhaps. I think lack of education and I think like even with my wife that probably sense it, but you could hide it with drinking or something like that. And I just went through just like a roller coaster of I'd exercise and I'd eat well and things would be going great with work and family, and then something would trigger me or something would blow up at work, stressing out, then I wouldn't come home to exercise. I'd go home to drink instead. And I don't mean like a raging alcoholic, but just those drinks every day, which is what you sort of do just to take the edge off, if you know what I mean. So I think it's just a real mix of all of it. I know, like, I guess I had a couple of really close mates that I'd probably like open up to a little bit and just sort of give them a little insight of, not really feeling, I'm feeling pretty down at the moment, but never necessarily talk about what I'm feeling down about or what it is, because sometimes I didn't even know what I was feeling down about. It was just something in my brain.
So let's talk about functioning alcoholics and functioning addicts. Do you feel like that is a term maybe that fits some depressed or anxious or low mental health states from people? Like there's functioning depressed people as well. Like
100%. I've met them. My family, my cousin. I love my cousin. I grew up with him. He's like my brother. My cousin was a heroin addict for many years.
Yeah.
And he still worked every day.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, like there's some periods in his life where he didn't work, but predominantly he still went to work every day. We lived with each other. I'd see him, and it broke my heart to see him like that. I know other people I've grown up with that were functioning drug addicts, functioning alcoholics. It's a real thing because they just use that because for whatever it is, that pain or whatever it is that they've got going on inside of them, but they use it as a tool just to live, to literally to function, to go about and just live there. And there's more of that happens in society than I think we actually realise. I really, really, really believe that. So, yeah, I think that's a real thing.
I think when you go through it yourself, and you realise how easy it is, it's like, fuck, well, I don't even feel like I'm that really deep in the rabbit hole, but I know that there's other people around that would definitely be doing it just as much, if not more, as well. Like I was, pissed and stoned most days when I went to work, or more so stoned, but for many years I was like that and functioning, and no one really, well, sometimes they did, but generally speaking, no one knew that I was in that state. So it's easy to hide, and I can imagine, the people just feeling shit. Everyone like the mask of a clown or the smile of a clown. No, the tears of a clown.
Tears of a clown, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, that there's definitely people out there that are just doing what they got to do to get by, but
100%. Yeah, that's what I did. I smoked weed for years. I did, because that was me. Like I'd just to, every morning start the day, and I'd go to work and do whatever. I'd start studying and everything else, and again at night time, and it's just something that sort of takes over your life. So you don't realise, and I got nothing against marijuana or anything like that. But for me personally, I abused it, or misused it. I think there's a difference between, it's like having a drink. It's like it's a difference between just having a cup, having a little bit to enjoy it for what it is, and misusing it. And that's
a couple of cones. Is that
so pretty much. So you know what I mean. But misusing drinks, misusing dope or whatever is that's where things become a problem. And I didn't acknowledge at the time that I was misusing it, because I just it was normalized. It was
around me. What's the alternative as well? Like not smoke it and feel all the fucking shit. Feelings, like that's not going to happen. Fuck that.
Yeah, and that's right. And it's for me, and it's like, you're using something else. But that was for me. I wasn't, I'd rather that than drinking alcohol. And then because when I did stop, that's what I went to. I didn't really do much for years, and for a good couple of years actually, just every now and then, and then I sort of went into that because and then I was like trying to. Get, like I said, always in between, trying to get myself back on track with the health and fitness, because I knew every time I did it, all of a sudden, surprise, I started feeling good about myself again. And I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to do something else. And then get to that point where you're going really well and go, I need to reward myself. I'm going really well. I'm going to have a good weekend. And then you're like, and you go down again. So, yeah.
So let's chat about that, about the things that have really helped you, maintain a higher state of mental stability, and what you've done in the past from like really willing yourself out. And I'd love also to hear the assistance that you were getting, or the process of getting or not getting assistance from others as well, because I know a lot of people feel alone.
Yeah. Well, I guess. And it's just me and my personality. I had the love and support of close friends and family. Okay. And that's, I'm very, very grateful. But it wasn't anything that anybody was actually doing. It was just knowing, if that makes sense. But I've always been quite a driven person. And that and like I sort of touched on before, it's just that we've all got a fire in our belly, but sometimes that little flame is just so dim, you forget that it's still in there. And it's just, for me, exercise is just adds fuel to the fire and gets the flames going more, and like that was what really got me going and got me out of it. And when I was younger, because I didn't understand about mindfulness. I didn't understand. I mean, eating clean and limiting alcohol, I did understand. And if I obviously did, that was all part of the, training the gym and exercise and whatever else. So that was all part of it. But it was not really been until these last couple of years, and I'll sort of touch on that a bit later, but where I discovered mindfulness, like meditation, positive affirmations, setting intentions. I was reading and educating myself, listening to podcasts, sort of being real intentional with the things I do, rather than just sort of just going about life and whatever happens, that does happen. So because I guess back then, and that's like I was touched on, I really just got back to the gym, met the love of my life, which is absolutely amazing, just and had my three beautiful children, and I just threw myself in the work. I worked big hours, and I worked really hard and had some great success in my career. Then in 2012 is Zach. So one of the kids in our family, just an amazing young boy. I always remember him, dancing up a storm back at our wedding in 2006.
Yeah.
And so it was absolutely just remember him, and just an amazing young kid. And I guess I was at work, and it was actually just what's the 21st today? Is it the 22nd today?
22nd, yeah.
So tomorrow is his 7th year anniversary.
Oh wow!
And so I was at work, and I got a call from my mother-in-law, my wife's mum, and she said, "Nathan, need to tell you something." Don't also remember the exact words, but she's crying and said, Zach's gone, Zach's taken his life. And I was like, fuck. She goes, I need you to go home and tell Tish, because we don't want, her to get the call. Like, you need to tell her. And I was like, just my heart just racing, just in a mess, just in tears and everything else. And I just ran out of work, jumped in the car, and just, and flew home. And I'll never forget that day. I'll never forget just telling her, because I rang my mate and I said, hey, come over and get my kids, because we had a 1-month-old. A little boy was just in prep. Our daughter was still home. And he went over and just picked her up, said, oh, I just want to hang out with her for a bit. And she thought it was strange. What's mate coming over? Yeah, okay, go and play with the kids, sort of thing. And then went home and had to tell her. And I just remember breaking down. I remember crying. Me just bawling my eyes out, her crying, bawling her eyes out. And it was fucking so hard, because we all know about suicide, and it's those unanswered questions. It's the stuff that you just don't know. I mean, a car accident, it sucks and it's horrible, but you understand, you've got a reason it was an accident, you were involved in a car accident. But with suicide, you don't have those answers. You always ask yourself why, or that's all you do.
So when you, after your experience and being on that end, did you recognize that? I know you said you sort of just got on with life, but was there a point where you realized there was things that you hadn't said to people, or things you needed to explain, or is it different when you're in it compared to when someone that goes experiences it?
Well, I still hadn't dealt with my shit. I still had that buried deep down inside of me.
Yeah. Okay.
And what I did is, because of my wife's family, wife's side of the family, and is I just sort of went into, like, of course I was devastated and everything, of course, but I went to just take care of everybody mode, made sure everybody had drinks, made sure food, just made sure everyone's all right. Put my focus and energy into others, my wife especially.
Yeah.
Really put my energy into being there for her. And I had a breakdown with the principal of the school, and he's an incredible man, and he had a lot of time for Zach. He really put a lot into Zach, and we went to a Catholic school, and I'm religious myself, and what I'd carried around all that time is like, take your life, you're going to hell. And so I know there was time I'm like, oh, well, I'm stuffed, I'm going to hell. Like, that was always said to me. And he said to me, I broke down, I said, I'm worried about Zach. I'm worried about where he is, and I explained the reasons why. And he said, don't be silly. Like, Christ is a loving God. He, Zach's right. He's with him, and everything's just fine and everything else. And it's not the old vengeful, Old Testament God, the old vengeful God sort of thing. And for me, that was just a big relief, because I was just worried about Zach, I was worried about family, worried about this sort of thing. But like I said, but I didn't bury it. What I did do is I made a promise to him that I'd do something for him. I didn't know what, I didn't know how, didn't know when, but I made that promise. And then that was in 2012. Then fast forward, must be something I don't know about turning 40. And I got to, it was 2017, and I'm like 30, I turned 39 the end of 2016, and I'm like, okay, Nathan, what are you going to do? You got more to give to this world. You got to make your impact. And I started being, I know, kids are getting older, I'm getting older. I just started more awareness. My wife got me this book. It said, wrote something like, go and tell your story, love wifey sort of thing. And I was like, as I said, I'm going to do it. I wrote down Zach's community, and I still didn't have any clue, any idea what I was going to do. Then fast forward to September in 2017, and I was driving home from the Gold Coast, driving home from work, and I got a phone call from a mate that a really good friend of mine had just taken his life and left behind his family. And I was just sobbing. I was just sorry. So this young fella just walking and say hello. I was just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, because we're so alike, we're so similar. He was just an amazing guy that inspired me to be the best I can be, inspired me to be a better father, a better husband, and more driven for successful careers. And it really, really hit me home. And that's when I started sort of being aware of my shit, like really being aware that it wasn't buried anymore. And I was like just sobbing with my, next to my wife, not crying uncontrollably, just like literally just sobbing. And I really looked deep inside myself, and I felt that maybe, just maybe, and it might not have, but just maybe, it might have made a difference. What if he knew my story? What if he knew that my journey, how I'd gone through to be where I was today? What if he was then able to maybe reach out and say, hey, Nathan, I'm really going through some shit right now. Can I have a chat? Because maybe if he might have been able to find hope or some strength through me. Mm-hmm. And that's when things really started to do. That was my baseball bat to the face moment. From the universe, you need to do something. Yeah. And right then and there, I said, great, I'm going to do, I am going to do something. And so I did. I thought about things, about what I'm going to do, and I was really, really on my mind. And that's when it came about in the January the following year that essentially started the preparations for Zach's community. And I started the 1st of February. So it's Zach's community is to remember Zach and never forget that little boy. But it's about giving people, showing people, being that person, that living, breathing example, being a normal person, that life gets better. Being that person that is been through there, had these challenges and overcome it, and really driven and motivated to be the best that I can be, and through so many other things that I've done. And I want people to know that that they're always loved, that they always matter, and doesn't matter how overwhelming life's challenges can be, that you can get through it. So I guess that takes us to the point of starting Zach's community, and I guess the ultimate thing that sort of tipped me over to step forward and allow people to see my vulnerability, to open up my closet of skeletons and let people see what's happened in my life. And yeah,
it's epic, man, and it. You're really hitting home for me as well, like tapping into the reasons, why I've started the Daily B Show, why I'm putting myself out there and wanting to show up for people as well, is just that it's you do have those, like you called it, the baseball bat to the face moments, where so often we judge ourselves and compare ourselves to others, and but when you have those moments where you realize that you've actually got something and been through some pain that other people are still currently in, and that just by opening up and believing in yourself and being able to have the courage to express that to other people and authentically open up and share what's going on, it then just gives other people permission to be in that space with you and to know that they're not alone. It's fucking huge, man, and I think I'll take my hat off to you for stepping up and stepping into it, even though it was almost like it's been something that's been bestowed upon you as opposed to something you're striving to do, and that's just sort of the path that life has dealt you, really, and this is the one you're on. But yeah, I think it's epic, and I'd love to hear actually some of the people or some of the impact. I asked you this a little bit earlier, we touched on it, but some of the impact and stories that have come out, or the people that have opened up to you since you've been doing this, just to show people the power of sharing, the power of opening up, and the power of really owning your story and owning your good bits and the bad bits, sharing them with the world.
Well, I'm very grateful. I've had a few opportunities to speak now, and the feedback from the people were really sort of connecting with them, coming up to me and saying thank you, because we all want hope. All of us, we just want that bit of hope in our lives that things are going to get better, and we can draw from other people's experiences and other people's hope to put hope in our own lives. And it's great. Like the Exact Community has been set up as a community because it's a community page. Had other people share their vulnerable stories on the page, and opening up about themselves. I get lots of messages and people, I've had some friends, that I've known, throughout the years that have been able to ring me or message me and say, hey, and I've given them a call and really have a chat to them, and they feel safe opening up because everybody's worried about judgment. And there shouldn't be any judgment. Judgment's bullshit, because we all have our own story. You cannot tell me anybody in this world has had a perfect fairy tale story and never had nothing go wrong in their lives. And how we deal shit, what triggers me or gets me down might not bother you at all, and vice versa. So, fuck judgment. Let's just be in here to be kind and be supportive and be there for one another, okay? So that's been really, really good for me, is being able to give people the strength to say, hey, I'm going through a tough time, and open up, rather than keeping it all inside, bearing it deep. Because what happens when you're bearing shit down deep and suppressing stuff, you're not only suppressing the bad stuff, you're suppressing the good stuff too. And what happens is you actually become numb to all feelings and emotions. You fake laughing, you fake smiling, because you got that shit that's just suppressed everything down. So you're not actually living, you're just existing. It's, feeling emotional, feeling happiness, feeling joy, feeling pain, feeling sadness. These are all normal emotions. It's just how we deal with these emotions, how we express these emotions. That's what matters. But it's, you feel alive, when you are going through this stuff. And I love being alive. It's the greatest gift we have. Like, fuck me, I couldn't miss out on all of this, miss out on talking to you right now on the Daily B with my mate. Why would you want to miss out on that? Like, I truly, truly, truly would never want to be miss out on that. But what I've learned, and what I talk to people about, is being present. This is one of the things that, there's a few things that I've really learned of recent times. I used to struggle like hell just with being present. I was working, big stress jobs, big hours, working Saturday, have Sunday off the family. I'm there Sunday with them, and I'm already worried about Monday, what's happening next week back at work. Yeah. I was never being present. I was worried about dumbass shit that I had buried deep inside of me that would pop up in my mind, and anxiety, cause me anxiety and everything. It would trigger me and shit from the past. And then I'd be worrying about what could or may not happen in the future. And it's like, oh my God, living now. The past is the past. The future's never going to come, because you can only actually be present. Yeah. And just being in that, being present is absolutely one of the greatest gifts I've given myself. Being present, I guess the other gift is gratitude. Like not just going, oh, I'm grateful because I've got to live in a house and I'm grateful for this, but really, really feeling it, really breathing that shit in, that stuff that you're grateful about, really, really thinking about it. And like, when you really feel it, you feel it through your body when you're grateful. When you've got real gratitude, you can't really, like I do, I get an actual physical reaction, like when the universe is giving me a good sign, like and things are going well. I'm truly grateful.
It turns from a doing into a being. You're not trying to do gratitude. Oh, I'm gonna be grateful for that. I'm gonna be grateful for this. But you actually become gratitude.
Yes, and that is so powerful as well. And the other thing is the stories we make up. I didn't know that I made up all the stories about myself.
No, you've been a storyteller from way back.
I'm like the king of storytellers. I'm not worthy. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm not good enough. I've got to try really hard for everybody to like me because I just want people to like me. If they didn't like me, what was wrong with me? What did I do wrong? I don't understand. How can you not like me? All the shit that I made up about myself. And I did not know until this year, and I'm nearly 42, that it's all rubbish.
Yeah.
No, I thought that was normal. And
it's full on. People go to the grave with that.
Everybody and like everybody, we all just get stuck in our stories from years ago, and we keep going through that present past loop.
Mm-hmm.
And you just get off it, not a hamster on a wheel. Like get present and rewrite the stories, because all these different life experiences that make up who we are and create who we are, we bury in our subconscious. It causes all these blocks, all these limiting beliefs. Get that shit out and rewrite that story in your head, because you know what? That has been the number one, probably, if they had to rank it, and they're all pretty close. But for me, that being able to rewrite the story has been actually huge, because when something happens and I start to feel the anxiety coming on, I just, I can do a little bit of breathing, a little bit of mindfulness, and just say to that little negative inner voice in my ear that's trying to mess with my head, say, not this time, buddy. Just acknowledge it, pack your bags, get walking. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just rubbish, because I know that I'm good enough. I know I'm a nice person, and I know my behavior is a reflection of me. So for whatever reason, it's no judgment to anybody else, but if they don't like me, or for whatever reason, or they're carrying like a pork chop, whatever, it's no reflection of me. It's just a reflection of who they are, or maybe the day they're having, or whatever it is, and what stories they're making up about themselves going on in their minds. So being able to rewrite that story and know that it's just a story, it's not true reflection of who your authentic self is, who the true essence of who you are. And when you find that who you truly are, the true authentic self, your true essence, is the most empowering thing you'll ever find in your life. When you discover that, is absolutely incredible.
Can you? And it's a stretch for the limitations of linguistics and language, but can you best articulate what that is for you, and what that looks like, or who that is within you?
As who the authentic person is, who truly am I. Okay, I'm a loving husband and loving father, loving to my family, loving person to my family and friends. I actually just have love for people. I'm truly just passionate about people, and and I know that I'm a good person. I know that I have a big heart. I know that I just want to give. I want to give. Because for me, the gift of giving is you get it back 100 times over. And just for me, in my heart, I know that I'm worthy. I know that I'm valuable. I know that I can say these things with humility. And I know that, like I said, I just, my love for people and my passion for people and my drive in me to make a positive impact for suicide prevention is unrelenting. What's the word? I don't know. Unrelenting. Yeah, unrelenting. Yeah. Yes. And I know that that's who I am. So.
And the love for yourself.
And love myself. Yes. And that's what I mean. That's why I say that I can say this with all humility, that I do love myself. I know there's a
Fiction.
yes, there's a Buckminster Fuller quote I've shared with you, yeah,
Yeah.
and I've got because I've always got one around here somewhere because I always keep it close. Hang on. Da probably can't see it because I've got terrible lighting in here. But I'd just like to read this. Never forget that you are one of a kind. Never forget that if there weren't any need for you in all your uniqueness to be on this earth, you wouldn't be here in the first place. You know, just that bit right there. All right. We are, but we wouldn't be here in the first place. So who we are in all of our uniqueness, that is enough. That's who we are. So shine bright and let that inner you come out and be the best you can be. That's what that is all about. Don't try and be somebody else. You just be you in all of your uniqueness. Next bit. And never forget, no matter how overwhelming life's challenges and problems seem to be, that one person can make a difference in the world. In fact, it is always because of one person that all the changes that matter in the world come about. So be that one person. Buckminster Fuller. So I don't know if you can see that.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Yep, the legend. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just to be that person.
I'm trying, bro. That's what you're doing.
I am. That's right. I am being that person and making a positive impact with suicide prevention.
Beautiful.
So yeah, and that's where my heart is. That's my heart, mind, soul is all aligned with that.
So can I ask, future pacing in a utopian world and an ideal scenario, we achieve suicide prevention. What is it? What is the vision of a utopian world and mindset for people where not only suicide's not an issue, but what do people strive towards beyond just not wanting to go down that route?
Mate, for me, so in a perfect ideal world, okay, we eradicate suicide and everybody in this world lives a life being their authentic self on purpose with a life that they're passionate about, getting out of bed every single day. You know, really, really living, not doing the Groundhog Day thing, but where everybody's connected. We're all part of communities. We all support and have love with one another and just be kind, where they have self-love and like I said, and love for everybody else. And the thing is, you know, it's the more see, because we live in these bubbles most of the time, general terms, we just live in our own little bubble doing our own thing. And oh my gosh, since in this journey I've been on, I've jumped way into my comfort zone. I've really stepped out, and I'm meeting like all these incredible people like yourself. And I know that the words I just spoke are exactly in alignment with what you think, you know. And there's so many other people. Like it's happening. There's more and more people that are consciously aware that you can. Like I love the saying this lady once told me, and you know she got it from somewhere else. You can predict the future. You just have to create it.
Yeah.
So you can it's all about setting these goals and being that person, showing up in life every day of who you are and creating something beautiful. And you know, I set a goal that I wanted to speak, and you know what? It happened. I didn't know how, but I knew my why was very powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, and so for me, that was absolutely incredible to be able to do that. So I essentially predicted the future. So what if all of us can do that? What if all of us can be on purpose, you know, and be so passionate about life and other people that we jump out of bed every day, you know, and just ready to rock and roll, ready to go. That would be incredible. It would be absolutely incredible. And no suicide. You know, people pass away through natural causes, I say, you know, and the world would be a much happier place.
Yeah, 100%, man. Definitely. I feel like we're at the point for a closing remark or some final words of wisdom, where if you had a megaphone that you could speak a message to every ear of every person in the world, what would that be?
Okay, so I've come up with a little thing that I'm very, very passionate about. It's called the 5 C's.
Cool.
So the first C is care. Okay, if people really know that you care, they're going to feel comfortable. Okay, and that's not one of the C's, but they're going to feel like they can open up and then build that trust so they can speak to you. So once you've got that trust built and people know that you care, the next C is people start having conversations. Okay, so care leads to conversations where people can really open up and tell you how they feel. And once people can really start opening up and telling you how they feel and knowing that you care, what happens next is you start to form a connection. And then when you've got those connections that you're starting to form with people, all of a sudden you become part of a community, right? The 4C. And then once you're a part of a community like we are here, we can create the 5th C, we can create real change, positive change. So if anybody can take away anything from tonight, take away the 5 C's: care, conversations, connections, community, change. And that's my message.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Nathan, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm right behind what you're doing. And any way that I can add service or be of service, I'm here for you, brother.
No, thank you. Same for you, brother, too. Thank you so much. Keep up with the amazing stuff that you're doing. I know you're making a difference, making an impact. You're changing lives. Yeah, keep it up. You're dedicating yourself to that, and you, sir, are an absolute legend in my books.
And we're a reflection. You're just looking in the mirror. It's beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. No, thank you, friend. Thank you.
Guys, thanks for joining us. I know you got a lot out of this conversation. And again, Nathan, thanks for being here, brother, and for sharing, doing amazing work. Check out Nathan, get in contact with him at his Facebook link and Zach's community. Check out Zach's community and be a part of it, be a voice for change as well. And guys, we look forward to seeing you on the next episode, but love you lots. See you later, bro.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.